Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I wanted to talk about The Walking Dead Dead City because there's actually some teaser images out there that I completely missed. I guess this must have dropped at some point a week or two after The Walking Dead Dead City Season 2 trailer dropped, or maybe it dropped exactly at Comic-Con, but I never saw these before. I was actually reading an article from Nerdist.com, so yeah, I'll leave a link down below to the article there if you do want to go and check that out. But I saw these teaser images here for The Walking Dead Dead City Season 2, and I was like, oh, I gotta talk about this because there's actually a lot to read into here. And I do want to talk about the show in general and the release date and what to expect for the show, because obviously I've been focusing a lot on Daryl Dixon since the show is premiering not this weekend but the weekend afterwards. So yeah, so before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all of my Walking Dead content like this. There's going to be a lot to talk about regarding The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon Season 2. It looks like next week there's going to be a lot of stuff that actually comes out. I believe this Sunday there's going to be some stuff that actually starts to come out in terms of just like documentaries or like other specials and whatnot for The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon. I could be wrong on the release date, but I know it's supposed to be out then, or maybe it's the Sunday after and it's airing like right before Daryl Dixon. I know that a lot of stuff is supposed to be out over the next like week or two here, so yeah, definitely look forward to all my breakdowns of all of that there. Let's talk about Dead City Season 2. So obviously this show is coming out at some point early in 2025. I mean, they never really said early 2025, but I'm assuming it's going to be. Like, they're not going to wait until late 2025 to release Dead City Season 2, especially because it's been over a year since we've watched Dead City. I honestly can't even believe that. Like, Dead City Season 1 finished airing at some point in July of 2023. So a very long time ago, and we don't even have a trailer for Dead City Season 2 yet. And I think a lot of that was because obviously I know last year there was the strike and all of that. So I think that really messed up a lot of the release times and all that. I think we're seeing that right now with the long wait for Daryl Dixon Season 2 and obviously having to wait for Dead City Season 2 as well. I think that's why everything is so spaced out as it is, and also why there isn't any announcements of other spinoffs and all that, because for a while there was no writing of any other projects or this and that. That's why next month at Comic-Con is going to be very exciting, because I want to see what Gimple has to say regarding other projects for The Walking Dead. There's that show called More Tales of the Walking Dead Universe or something. I don't know if it's going to be a show or what it is, but that was announced, I think, last year. So what's happening with that? There's a lot of stuff that I just want to know a lot more of, because obviously for the last, I mean, really all year this year, it's been very quiet. Since the Ones Who Lives finale, which was like, what, the end of March? It's been very, very quiet for The Walking Dead, and it's only really picked up this month. Well, maybe in August a little bit. And so, you know, I think that like next month at Comic-Con, I think that's really their opportunity to make things a lot more exciting and announce a bunch of stuff, because right now there's just 2 shows with the hopes for other shows, this and that. But I think confirming certain things will get a lot of people really excited. And so, yeah, next month at Comic-Con is going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, so let's actually break down the latest images here, because honestly, these images, I wasn't expecting to see. I guess because the focus then was a lot on Daryl Dixon Season 2, so I just wasn't really focusing on Dead City Season 2, but there's a lot here to talk about. So first of all, we have this one shot here of Negan, and the first thing you notice, I mean, there's a couple of things, but the first thing you notice is that he has his jacket on. So it looks like at this point here, I mean, I don't think this is the first episode, this is probably episode 2, I'm assuming, and he's already in his jacket, right? And remember, this show here, or this season, is supposed to be 8 episodes, and so really exciting, because, you know, obviously you can get into a lot more of a story there with 8 episodes. You can really focus a lot on the characters and everything, and I think that's what I'm sort of not looking forward to with Daryl Dixon, is that it's only going to be 6 episodes. I think if it was 8 episodes, it just really, like, you spend a lot more time with the characters and you could build the story so much better. You're not rushing through this or that, and I think Daryl Dixon overall has handled a lot of that really well in terms of pacing, but 8 episodes I think is just going to work really well, and I do expect when we watch Dead City Season 2, we're going to be like, oh yeah, like 8 episodes was just so perfect. And so we do see Negan here, and yeah, he has his jacket on, which tells me at this point here, he's already gotten his jacket and Lucille from the Croat, I'm assuming, and yeah, now he's ready to be the leader here, or do whatever he has to do, you know, whatever the Dama wants him to do. And we see him here sitting on this chair. I believe this is actually in a church, and so I'm not entirely sure of the details with all of this here, because obviously the one thing about Dead City Season 1, and that was a lot of the complaints I would say from a lot of fans, was that there wasn't a lot to it. There wasn't a bigger story. It really did just focus on bringing Maggie and Negan to New York City. Maggie saved Herschel, and then Negan, I guess, just stayed behind because obviously he was held captive or taken captive by the Dama and her group and everything. And so when you really look at Dead City overall, you know, in terms of season 1, it wasn't the biggest story. It really was just a small personal story between Maggie and Negan. and going to New York City. But if you look at a lot of what they're saying about season 2, especially at Comic-Con, they're saying the story gets a lot bigger. It's really like a refresher. And so I do think they looked at like Daryl Dixon and The Ones Who Live, and they were like, you know what? Those shows are really exciting. The stories there got really crazy, just really insane. And so we want to do the same thing here for Dead City season 2. And I think that's why we got 8 episodes. And that's why Negan now has his jacket and obviously Lucille, right? It's because you want to bring back that version of the character. And I think that they're just going to really elevate the story here a lot. And so I'm excited for Dead City because I think this is the one show that can actually get into some of the CRM arc as well. Like, you don't have to really go there or do any of that, but you could introduce them being very interested in what's going on here and just a lot of that, right? Like, you can have some connections here. Like, maybe it's just a 1 episode thing, but you can do some of that, right? There's a lot of things you can do there. There's a lot of other characters, obviously, in the Walking Dead universe that could show up on this show. It's very different with Daryl Dixon. Like, you're not really expecting any other characters to show up in that show at all because it would be really hard for that to even happen. But with this show, it can actually happen. So yeah, really cool shot here of Negan in this church here. He's sitting on this chair. It looks like, I don't know if he's sitting with a bunch of other people. I mean, he's kind of looking to his right, so I'm assuming somebody is sitting there. But if we go to the next shot here of Maggie, it looks like, I think that this is likely from episode 2 as well. And again, one detail that I noticed is that she's wearing the same jacket, I believe, as season 1. And again, those details, I've talked about this before. I really like those small details because it makes sense in the apocalypse that characters aren't going to constantly change like jackets and all of that, right? Like, it's not going to happen like that a lot because you're just focusing on surviving. You have more important things to focus on. And so that was one of the things I noticed with the original series towards the end anyways. It seemed like characters were always having all these like fancy clothes and these outfit changes here and there. And it just didn't really seem that realistic. I was just like, where would you find that? And you were just here before, like, why are these outfit changes happening so constantly? And I've noticed with the spinoffs anyways, there's a lot more of a focus on just our characters trying to survive, and the outfit changes aren't happening so much, right? And so yeah, we do see Maggie here, and if you're actually looking at the shot, she's outside, and so I'm assuming that, again, this has to be from episode 2. It's not from episode 1, I don't think, because episode 1, I believe, is going to have her at the bricks, and there's going to be something that happens that obviously has her going back to New York, and it's going to have to do with the Marshal, because I think the Marshal is going to end up having to maybe, you know, fix, I guess, what he lied about in the finale of season 1, because obviously he lied to New Babylon about the fact that Negan was dead, right? He said that he was dead, and he's obviously not dead. And so I think he has to go back there to probably try and get rid of him, or I'm not entirely sure. Like, I don't know what the plot is overall going to be. I know one teaser that we did get was that New Babylon was at war, or was going to be going to war, I guess, for the resources and the methane, I guess, that the Dama and her group has in New York City. And so I don't know how Bruegel is going to fit into all of that, but it looks like there's going to be this big giant battle that does happen, or at least they're building to that, right? Like, obviously you can't just go right out and do that immediately. So that seems to be sort of the idea right here. And so I'm not sure why the Marshal has to go back to New York City, but Maggie at some point is going to be brought with him. Actually, Herschel will as well. So maybe Herschel and the Marshal, they go to New York City, and Maggie's just like, well, wait, what? And so goes after them afterwards, right? If you're actually looking at Maggie here, I don't know if that's like handcuffs right there, or if that's just a bracelet there, but yeah, kind of hard to tell. But just a really cool shot in general. But then we get this next shot here of the Marshal, and I don't know if this is the bricks, maybe not. I'm assuming it's the bricks because obviously the building in the back has bricks. But see, that's why I want to know why this place was called the Bricks. Like, we don't know anything about this community, and I think that's the one thing that Dead City definitely failed on, was it introduced New Babylon, it introduced the bricks, it introduced a lot of these newer communities, but there wasn't any explanation on like what's happening here, and like why are the people from the hilltop here at the bricks now, and like what's the state of everything, right? That's the stuff that a lot of fans like. And if you actually look at The Ones Who Live and Daryl Dixon, every place that they went to, they really explained a lot of like why they were there. I mean, The Ones Who Live, we sort of got everything, but they really went in depth with the whole entirety of the Civic Republic, right? And with Daryl Dixon, every place that he went to, you saw a lot of that place, and you saw a lot of the community and everything. But with Dead City, it really was like the places that they were at, we saw a little bit of it, and we heard references, but they never went into any sort of explanation behind why the things are the way that they are. Everyone that was at the hilltop went to the bricks, and just, you know, like all of that. There's so many things that they definitely could have went into here, but it looks like for season 2, they are getting into it here. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to learn about these communities, which is obviously for Walking Dead fans a really big deal because people really love communities and stuff like that. Obviously, that's why we love Alexandria, the Hilltop, the Kingdom, and all that. It's fun to learn about different communities, right? So yeah, I believe at this point here, the Marshal is at the bricks, probably trying to convince Maggie to maybe go with him, or maybe there's something there. There's got to be something in terms of why he wants to go back to New York City. It must involve Negan, I'm assuming, but we'll have to wait and see. But then, yeah, we get to the next shot here and we see the Croat, and I'm assuming the Croat maybe is talking to Negan as well, because if you look, the chair in the background is very similar to the chair that Negan was sitting in. So it looks like they're all going to be in this church or something. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure of what the story is going to be. I mean, it's really hard to say, but I just think the visuals in general, I think the way the show looks, I'm really excited for season 2 of Dead City. I think that a lot of fans, like honestly, I think that's one of the things about having a season 1 that's not as strong. And again, I really enjoyed season 1 of Dead City. I'm not even saying anything really bad about it. I think it's just when you compare season 1 to season 1 of the other shows, it's just obviously not that great of a season, right, compared to those seasons. And I can see where there's so much potential here. Like Dead City could honestly be a really exciting show if you really build up that world a lot, really explain a lot of the communities, have characters like Dwight and Sherry, you know, show up here on the show. Other characters from Fear the Walking Dead, just other characters from The Walking Dead in general. There's a lot that you can do here with this show to make this show really, like, honestly, a really massive show. And I think they are going to start doing that here. I think season 2, the focus should be on building up the communities and building up the world, because we already know what things are like for Maggie and Negan at this point here. And I just want to see, I guess, where things go, you know, I guess in the future here. And I do wonder, like, do Maggie and Negan know that Rick and Michonne made it back home? I'm assuming they do know. Have they seen them? I don't know if they've seen them. I'm assuming Maggie has seen Rick and Michonne, because obviously I think that she would. But then again, like Maggie and Michonne, like they didn't really like each other towards the end, and they didn't really ever fix that because Michonne left by the time Maggie came back, right? So I don't know where things are at there. And then obviously for Negan, I just see Negan being like, well, obviously Rick and Michonne aren't going to want to see me. And I don't know if Rick and Michonne really want to see him either. So I have a lot of questions on all of that here. So we'll see if we do learn that for Dead City Season 2. I'm very excited. You know, I think that the show is going to be incredible. The synopsis here, and I got this from Nerdist, and again, I'll leave a link down below to the article, but the synopsis here for Season 2 says, in Season 2, in the growing war for control of Manhattan, Maggie and Negan find themselves trapped on opposite sides. As their paths intertwine, they come to see that the way out for both is more complicated and harrowing than they ever imagined. And so that's a very general synopsis, I would say. But if you just look at the very beginning part, it says in the growing war for control of Manhattan, right there, I think teases what the story is going to be. So they all want control over Manhattan, and it seems like it's because of the methane. And I'm not entirely sure if it's because it's really rich in an area like that. There's just a lot in Manhattan. And so obviously the Dama maybe is trying to be very protective over this. And so you have the Bruegel trying to fight for control in this area here, and then you're going to have New Babylon and whatnot trying to fight for control over Manhattan. And that's why the Dama wants somebody like Negan who could probably actually win this war, right? And so I'm interested in how they're going to really build a lot of this up here. And that's why I'm excited for Comic-Con next month, because we're likely going to get a sneak peek. We're going to get a lot of talk, obviously, for Dead City. Most likely a release date, I'm assuming. It depends on release dates. Like, I've always tried to predict AMC's release dates for The Walking Dead, and sometimes it comes very early, but sometimes it's not that early. Like, The Walking Dead, it always usually released the release date like after the mid-season finale. So that would be like, what, November? They would say it's returning in February on this day or something like that. But lately, it's really just been like kind of random. You expect it to be like, oh, the month before. I think for Daryl Dixon, actually, they announced it like, what was that, 3 months ago or something? So I could easily see us getting the release date because there's going to be such a big event at Comic-Con next month, and literally a month from now. I could see us getting the release date then, and it'll probably be February or March, and then there's going to be a lot of promotion and all of that. We'll probably get the official trailer starting in the new year, I'm expecting, but just a lot of like 30-second teaser trailers and a bunch of stuff beforehand, right? Because obviously they have to promote the next show. Like once Daryl Dixon's season 2 finishes airing November 3rd, I think right after that we're gonna get a teaser for Dead City, and then yeah, they'll start promoting that show, and then I think Daryl Dixon season 3 will continue filming for I guess a couple of months at that point, or a couple of weeks, and then hopefully we get some new announcements notes and all of that, right? So yeah, definitely I'm really excited about all this here. I did see that there was supposed to be a new teaser for Dead City coming out at some point next week. I saw an article about that, but I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe they got that confused a little bit with Daryl Dixon season 2. I mean, maybe, like, there's a lot of stuff coming out, so yeah, just expect, you know, something to come out potentially next week for Dead City. If not, I guess the article just sort of got that mixed up a little bit, but yeah, I'm very excited for Dead City. So post all your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.